we have more DC horror stuff. Some Batman, two Batman related stories about Batman, a Legion of Superhero story, another Arkham Asylum thing, and another Riddler story.
Batman Gotham's Horror Number 1, Enigma. The rain had been falling steadily all night over Gotham City, smearing neon lights into long, wet streaks across the asphalt. Batman perched on the ledge of a crumbling building in the Narrows, watching the streets below. The air smelled like wet concrete and oil, and somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. The city was alive as always, but tonight it felt different. Tense. Something was shifting. Commissioner James Gordon, newly promoted, had briefed him earlier that evening in the GCPD office. Black Mask had been active again, orchestrating blackmail schemes across Gotham, targeting influential politicians, business figures, and even low-level criminals who had crossed him. Batman had followed the threads, and they all seemed to converge on a single name. Enigma, or Enigma, as he was currently known in Gotham's criminal circles. Enigma wasn't just another street-level hacker or petty thief. Reports suggested he was smart, dangerously smart. Someone capable of collecting, organizing, and weaponizing secrets at a level that could destabilize powerful figures. And that worried Batman. If he didn't act, the blackmail Black Mask had commissioned could continue unchecked, spreading like a virus through Gotham's underworld and beyond. Batman crouched over the ledge, letting the city's noises wash over him. He had tracked Enigma's activities for weeks, gathering reports, following money trails, listening to whispers in the underground. He knew that stopping him wouldn't just be about a simple arrest. Taking down Enigma meant severing part of Black Mask's operation. It meant reclaiming control over the tide of blackmail and proving that even the most meticulous criminal could be outsmarted. He moved silently across rooftops, a shadow in a world of shadows. The building he had pinpointed was a modest office structure in Old Gotham. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed criminal mastermind. Batman observed the entrances, noted the security cameras, and calculated the patrol patterns. Inside, somewhere, Enigma was working. Maybe he didn't even know Batman was coming. The Batmobile would have been overkill, and Batman didn't want attention. He preferred subtlety. Scaling the fire escape, he reached a window on the second floor. The glass was cold under his gloved hands. He pressed himself against it and observed. The office inside was immaculate. Computer monitors glowed softly in the dim light. Papers were stacked neatly. A faint hum of machinery filled the air. The room was empty. No Enigma. Batman's cowl shifted slightly as he stepped inside. The door closed silently behind him. He approached the main workstation. The screens displayed folders, encrypted files, and lists of names. Blackmail targets, transactions, leverage, everything. He knelt, fingers dancing across the keyboard with methodical precision. Within minutes, he was inside the system. Batman downloaded every file relevant to Black Mask's operation and simultaneously wiped them from Enigma's server. The digital traces of Black Mask's leverage were erased in a way that only someone with Batman's skill could achieve. He pulled up the property records on the main monitor. The office was registered under the name Edward Nigma. That explained the meticulous security, the precise organization, and the intelligence woven into the workstations. It all pointed to the same person. Edward Nigma, a mind far beyond the average criminal in Gotham. Batman sat back for a moment, considering the implications. He knew that Edward's intelligence and curiosity made him unpredictable. He also knew that confronting him directly could be dangerous. This wasn't just about a thief or a hacker. Enigma could be a long-term problem. He took out a secure communicator and reached out to Commissioner Gordon. Jim, I've accessed the Black Mask files. They're gone, wiped, but I need you to do something for me. Gordon's voice was steady but firm. Name it. Edward Nigma is on the force, Batman said quietly. He shouldn't be. It's best if he's removed before he can continue exploiting his position. You know his record, and I know his skill set. He's dangerous. There was a pause. Then, understood. I'll handle it. Batman left the office the same way he came in, slipping into the rain and darkness. He didn't need to know where Enigma was now. For the moment, the immediate threat had been neutralized. The files were gone. Black Mask had lost leverage, and Gotham's secrets were safe, at least for tonight. As he melted into the shadows, the city around him was quiet, but not peaceful. Gotham never was. And somewhere, Edward Nygma was still out there. Smart, meticulous, and always one step ahead. Batman knew this was only the beginning of a much larger game. The city's lights flickered, the rain pattered against rooftops, and a single question echoed in Batman's mind. How long before Edward Nygma decided to make the rules for himself? Because Batman had stopped the first move. But in Gotham, the game was never over.
Wow. This deserves a Nobel Prize or something. Can we talk about the physics? Sir Newton himself could not have created something so whimsical that it somehow balances on the and can rise to life without.
Anyways, we get number 2, which continues into the Black Mask story here.
You press a button and it ejects a lump of
Batman, Gotham's Horror number 2, The Black Mask's Men. The rain had finally slowed, leaving Gotham City slick and glistening under the streetlights. Fog drifted lazily along the alleys, curling around dumpsters and fire escapes. Somewhere in the distance, the faint wail of a police siren cut through the night. Batman perched atop a crumbling brick building in the heart of the Diamond District, surveying the streets below. He didn't need to check his intel twice. The activity was unmistakable. Roman Sionis, the criminal known as Black Mask, had men moving through the district tonight. Muscle, enforcers, and thieves. Standard Black Mask operation. Collecting debts, intimidating small-time crooks, and making the city bleed slowly for profit. A group of 3 men exited a jewelry store carrying duffel bags. Their faces were shadowed under black scarves, masks that mirrored the symbol of their boss. Batman's eyes narrowed behind his cowl. "Time to make it interesting," he muttered. He dropped silently from the rooftop, landing behind a dumpster with a muted thud. One of the men lit a cigarette. The flame reflected briefly off the brass knuckles on his hand. Batman's gloved hands shot out. The first thug never saw him coming. A strike to the neck, and he crumpled silently, unconscious. The second turned, swung a metal pipe, and Batman caught it mid-swing, twisting it out of the man's hands before throwing him into the brick wall. The third thug panicked, pulling a handgun. Batman was faster. A kick to the wrist sent the weapon spinning into the street. A sweep of the leg followed, knocking him to the ground. The duffel bags were dropped in the chaos. Batman didn't linger. He scanned the block, calculating. There were 2 more groups moving toward the same location. Men with black masks, carrying weapons, clearly here for collection and intimidation. The next encounter was noisier. The men opened fire in the streets, bullets pinging off brick and metal. Batman dove into the shadows, using the urban architecture to his advantage. He moved like liquid, striking from blind spots. A combination of martial arts and calculated force disabled 1, 2, 3 more before they could even react. By the time the police sirens arrived, summoned by a neighbor who had called in the gunfire, the streets were littered with unconscious men, bruised and beaten, but none dead. Batman ensured it that way. Punishment, not murder. From the rooftops, he watched them drag their men into waiting cars, groaning and dazed. These were Black Mask's people, but Batman had already disrupted the chain of command for the night. A small victory, but one that mattered. He contacted Commissioner James Gordon through a secure line. "Jim," Batman's voice was low, edged with calm authority. "Black Mask's men were moving through the Diamond District. I've neutralized their operation for tonight. No deaths. Evidence will be left at the scene." "Good work, Bruce," Gordon responded. "I'll have officers secure them." Batman didn't respond. He wasn't finished yet. He moved to the next location, tracing the operations back to warehouses and back alleys where Black Mask stored his stolen goods and laundered money. Each encounter was methodical. Each man captured, knocked unconscious, and left as a warning for the others. Finally, he paused on a high-rise roof overlooking the main Black Mask headquarters in the industrial sector. Lights burned in the office windows. Shadows moved behind the blinds. Batman's gaze was steady. Roman Sionis was somewhere inside, unaware of the night's disruptions. "I've sent a message," Batman muttered to himself. "Now it's time to see if he'll respond." From the rooftop, he observed, calculating the next move. Tonight, the streets were safer. The Diamond District would recover, at least until Black Mask figured out what had happened. But Batman knew the real battle wasn't with these men. It was with Roman Sionis himself. And that battle was coming soon. The rain returned softly, dripping down the edges of the rooftop. Gotham shivered beneath it. Batman disappeared into the shadows, already planning the next strike. Because in Gotham, justice was never easy, and punishment for the wicked was never delayed. The night was far from over. The city waited, and Batman was ready.
America could never. They don't even care. Welcome to America, where it costs $12 for a 12-pack of eggs that aren't even good for you. Finally, somebody did it. After everybody and their mother have switched to USB-C, somebody finally took the old USB and made it double-sided. So there's no longer the issue of plugging it in, taking it out, flipping it, plugging it in again.
Now we get the Legion of Superheroes story.
You are now just telling
Which, I don't know, this is I forget if this is horror or not.
created foldable product cabinets that you can set up in under 3 seconds.
Legion of Superheroes 1, A Future United.
If you're
The year was 31st century, and the galaxy had grown both larger and more dangerous. Stars burned brighter, planets teemed with life, and civilizations spanned hundreds of worlds. Yet, even amidst this vast expanse, one force remained dedicated to protecting peace: the Yi Legion of Superheroes. In the bustling spires of Metropolis Prime, the Legion Hall stood tall. Towering above the city, its sleek design shimmered with energy shielding that deflected the harsh solar winds of its orbiting city. Inside, a council room glowed with light, filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Saturn Girl, glowing faintly with telepathic energy, paced the front. Her eyes scanned a digital display hovering midair, showing star systems, asteroid belts, and anomalies detected in the outer sectors. Legionnaires, she began, voice calm but firm, reports indicate an unusual energy signature near the rim worlds. Preliminary scans suggest potential antimatter fluctuations, possibly artificial in nature. Cosmic Boy crossed his arms, eyes narrowing. Artificial? So someone's messing with the rim worlds. Who would dare? Lightning Lad cracked his knuckles, the air around him sparking faintly. Someone stupid enough to underestimate the Legion. Saturn Girl's gaze shifted to Brainiac 5, who was analyzing the data streams in real time. 5, what's your assessment? Brainiac 5's fingers moved with preternatural speed over his portable console. The signature patterns are unlike anything previously recorded. If I am correct, these disturbances are being generated by a machine capable of creating localized antimatter pulses. In layman's terms, someone or something is playing with weapons that could annihilate entire colonies. Chameleon Boy, standing near the corner, shifted briefly into the form of a small alien drone to peer at the holographic map. That explains the sudden evacuation warnings from Daxam 4 and Sercarpus 5. The planetary governments were panicking before issuing the full alert. Saturn Girl nodded. We have no time to waste. Legionnaires, assemble in the starship hangar. We leave in 10 standard minutes. Meanwhile, in the training halls below, the newest recruits of the Legion, young heroes still learning the ropes, prepared their suits, adjusted their comm units, and synchronized their flight gear. Each one carried the weight of their world's hopes on their shoulders, aware that failure was not an option. Don't sweat it, Cosmic Boy said to the rookies. You'll learn fast. Out here, speed, strength, or powers aren't enough. You have to think, react, and work together. Lightning Lad grinned. And remember, nothing like a little intergalactic danger to make breakfast feel really unimportant. Saturn Girl signaled, and the Legionnaires launched into the sky from the massive hangar bay, their sleek ships streaking across the atmosphere like bolts of light. Behind them, the city of Metropolis Prime shimmered in the early morning rays of its sun. As the Legion approached the rim worlds, sensors flared. An enormous structure hovered above the barren surface of a dying planet, pulsing with a strange, menacing glow. Mechanical tendrils extended toward the planet's crust, drawing energy into the hovering fortress. Lightning Lad's voice crackled over comms. That thing is huge, and it's not natural. Chameleon Boy transformed into a stealth drone, maneuvering closer for reconnaissance. The defenses are extensive. Automated turrets, energy shields, but no organic life detected. Saturn Girl focused, projecting her telepathy across the area. She felt a flicker, a mind, alien and artificial, reaching out. There's intelligence in there. It's aware we're coming. Brainiac 5's voice came crisp and analytical. The technological complexity is remarkable. Whoever built this understands antimatter reactions intimately. If we engage without strategy, we risk planetary scale destruction. Cosmic Boy clenched his fists. Then we don't engage recklessly. We hit their weak points, disable the core, and make sure this thing doesn't take a single RimWorld with it. Lightning Lad shot forward, sparks flying, leaving streaks across the sky. Let's light it up, team. The battle had begun. Starships weaved through automated defenses, Legionnaires coordinated strikes, and brains and brawn combined against the artificial menace. Saturn Girl projected mental barriers to protect her teammates. Cosmic Boy ripped through reinforced energy shields with magnetic precision. Lightning Lad struck at weak points with speed and timing. Brainiac 5 manipulated the fortress's systems remotely. And Chameleon Boy infiltrated the core to disable internal defenses. It was a display of teamwork honed over years, a demonstration that in the 31st century, even the most advanced technologies could not outmatch the combined skill and intelligence of the Ha Legion of superheroes. Finally, with a coordinated strike, the fortress's core collapsed in a controlled implosion. Antimatter energy dissipated harmlessly into space. Saturn Girl exhaled, the mental strain leaving her as the remaining Legionnaires regrouped. Good work, everyone. Once again, the RimWorlds are safe. Brainiac 5 tapped a console. For now. But based on the energy signatures, we can expect this intelligence to attempt another project soon. Lightning Lad smirked. Well, that just means more work for the Legion. At least it keeps things interesting. Cosmic Boy nodded. Interesting, yes, but dangerous, and we'll be ready. Saturn Girl's eyes scanned the stars. The universe is vast, but as long as we work together, there is no threat we cannot face. The Legion of Superheroes soared back toward Metropolis Prime, their silhouettes blazing across the sky, a shining beacon of hope for the 31st century. And somewhere in the galaxy, a new threat watched, waiting, knowing that the Legion's fight was far from over. To be continued.
The leg of your pants after they've already been dry. Wait, this is the most genius thing I've seen all day. The control system is... I would totally buy this. Look at the inside of it. It literally is a mini washing machine. 3 washing machine in one. For 500 USD, 500, that's it.
The Arkham Stories Number 5, Part 1. The Long Halloween, April Fools. Notes Part 1. During the events of the infamous Long Halloween, Gotham City was already teetering on the edge. Crime families clashed in the shadows, and the streets ran with blood. Amid the chaos, Edward Nygma, not yet fully the Riddler the city feared, but already sharpening his mind into a dangerous instrument, found himself in a peculiar position. Carmine Falcone, Gotham's powerful crime lord, was facing a nightmare. A serial killer, known only as Holiday, began targeting his associates in brutal, cryptic murders, always on holidays. Falcone, desperate for answers, turned to Edward, seeing the young man's intellect as a tool to untangle the mystery. Edward became an informant of sorts, leveraging his intelligence to uncover clues. Edward studied the murders with methodical precision, tracing patterns, timelines, and behavioral cues. When he finally presented his findings, he dropped a suggestion that made even Falcone laugh bitterly. You think Carmine Falcone himself is the killer? Falcone had asked, chuckling. You've got guts, kid. I'll give you that. Edward's mind raced. He knew patterns, he knew logic, and to him, Falcone fit the sequence of killings in his own way. But his deduction only amused the mob boss. Shortly thereafter, Edward became one of Holiday's intended victims, but in an odd twist, he was left unharmed. Holiday, whoever they truly were, seemingly saw no need to end Edward's life. Confused and frustrated, he found himself caught between the chaos of Gotham's streets and the dangerous games of crime lords and serial killers. A year later, a new killer emerged, the Hangman. Batman, aware of Edward's analytical skill, sought him out for consultation. Edward, now even more entrenched in Gotham's criminal intelligence, turned his mind to this new mystery, but the Hangman case would prove no easier than the first. Interview Part 2. Hugo Strange leaned forward, recording device on the table. Edward, tell me about your experience with the Holiday Killer and the Hangman. Edward shifted slightly in his chair, fingers tapping absently on the armrest. Oh, you mean Eduardo Falcone, the holiday killer. Smart, creative, but not smart enough to see his sister coming for him once she got out of prison. Classic oversight. Hugo raised an eyebrow. And Hangman? Edward snorted lightly. Sophia Falcone, or as you'd know her, Hangman, never had the brains, dumb as a brick wall, did whatever her father told her. Brutish, simple. The Falcones never really stood a chance. Not against Gotham, not against the clown. He paused, a flicker of disdain crossing his features. Once he showed up, all bets were off. Everything they built, everything they thought they controlled, collapsed. They weren't ready, they never had a chance. Dr. Strange scribbled notes furiously, the faint hum of the recording device filling the room. Edward leaned back, staring at the ceiling as if picturing the horrors and cleverness of the killers he had studied and survived. Interesting, Strange murmured. And yet, you endured, observed, learned. Edward's lips curved slightly. Someone has to, otherwise Gotham swallows everyone whole. To be continued.
You don't know how to look. We don't know how to do that.
Bob, I didn't see him.
You look like
Oh,
no
man.
man.
You're right nowhere.
And it's pretty bare. We don't want to go in debt for furniture, so you
Yes,
can see it.
in debt for furniture.
Get
You
that
don't have
table out
any.
of there. Make that
No,
go up on the
the
bedroom or
desk
some shit.
chair
Don't
here,
get much room
like
for
the
a
ones
dinner
from
area.
school. Looks
They
like
got
they
big
stole.
heads.
Yeah.
They don't even have much room for a goddamn dinner area. I feel like, shit, it's bare in here, bitch. Make your own bare thing. You sound like you don't like it being bare.
Spend about $120 a month on our phone bill, and that's just. If I need to get a hold of somebody, I just walk over to the library. It's less than a block away.
There's an emergency. You need to call 911. You can just walk a block down to the library, you know? Wow.
Yeah.
Or
After
you're
your dad.
die because, you know.
Your kids are sick at school, call the library. Hey, can you run to the house and get my mom?
All the kids are at school and the husband's out doing his butcher work and you're on the ladder changing a light bulb and you fall down and break your leg. Well, you're just going to lay there until someone comes home, I guess.
All of my children have all of them hand-me-down.
No, it ain't.
But every
I ain't
little
eating
one.
shit he makes.
Soraya is no.
Is that full of clips?
Well, that's dumb bitch right there. She's like, I'm gonna get a phone if I want to call. I'm walk down to the library. When you break your leg?
I don't have any
You gonna crawl to the library? There's someone in the house with guns. You gonna sneak your way to the library?
Well, yeah,
The
there's
fuck
some wood,
you
you know,
talking
get shot
about?
up there, yeah. Oh, God.
Going to the library.
No.
It's kind of it's kind of going fast. I think so.
I'll be back in there, you snipper snap. Anyways, here is the last one I have made so far. I'm gonna make more after.
Batman One Bad Day number 2, Riddles and Holidays. The streets of Gotham City had always been unpredictable, but for Edward Nygma, they became a puzzle he couldn't fully solve during the year of the holiday killings. He had seen the city's underworld bleed, had followed patterns, analyzed every anomaly, and yet this killer managed to stay ahead. Edward sat at a small, dimly lit table in his apartment, scribbling notes into a journal. The paper was filled with riddles, equations, and fragments of patterns he thought he had discerned. Yet none of it made sense. The holiday killer. Clever, Edward muttered under his breath. Every strike perfectly timed, every victim chosen deliberately, a signature behind every murder, and yet, leaving me alive? He had first been pulled into the case by Carmine Falcone, the crime lord desperate to discover who was cutting down his associates on holidays. Falcone had been impressed with Edward's analytical mind, or perhaps simply willing to gamble that he could solve the impossible. Edward worked tirelessly, tracing every clue, every hint, every behavioral pattern, every scrap of evidence. I tracked him or her through Gotham like a hawk, Edward said aloud, tapping the side of his head. Every holiday, every location, every possible motive, yet always one step behind. He paused, staring at a drawing he had made of a victim's last known movements. The lines intersected like a web. I even considered the obvious, the family. Eduardo Falcone, brilliant, ruthless, and ultimately blind to the one closest to him. Edward chuckled softly. His sister, the one who ended him, never saw it coming, not a chance. Classic misdirection. And that made me realize. He scribbled rapidly in his notebook. Even intelligence has limits. Even logic has gaps. The human element, always unpredictable. When the Hangman case arose a year later, Edward was consulted again, this time by Batman himself. The patterns were similar, but the killer was different. Sophia Falcone, brute force and blind obedience to her father, not cunning like her brother. Yet even she could not survive the chaos brought by Gotham's clown. Edward leaned back in his chair, running his fingers through his hair. Holiday taught me patience. Hangman taught me caution. Both taught me one thing. Gotham is never logical. Its people, its criminals, they are unpredictable. And if I want to survive, I must be smarter, faster, better. He picked up his riddle book, flipping through the pages slowly. Each puzzle seemed smaller now, trivial compared to the chaos outside. The killings, the deception, the manipulation of Gotham's underworld, they were the ultimate riddles. Edward Nygma, young and brilliant, had faced a serial killer and survived. Not by strength, not by luck, but by his mind. And in surviving, he realized something that would define him forever. To challenge Gotham, he would have to become its ultimate question. And one day, he would. The city slept, or pretended to. But Edward's mind never rested. Each riddle solved, each pattern traced, was preparation. For the next puzzle, for the next challenge, for Batman. Because one day, the game would be real. And Edward Nygma would be ready. To be continued?
You guys just act like you hate everything. They're like, I'm gonna give them these gifts, you know? That's a nice bag. I don't even know what she didn't make that out of what she had earlier. That's for sure.
She bought that one from the thrift store.
That came from the thrift store.
The wound man.
Girl, what about the other name? I was kind of shocked. Well,
Dude, that didn't come from the rabbit. Alright.
I want to know about the guy who goes dog through faces.
yeah, girl, what about him?
I don't know about, I have a comment about him. I need one about him. I want to comment with him.
I have an article about
I
it.
hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, leave a like,
I'm
leave a
here for
comment. We'll
our
like
90th
stuff
comment.
helps out a
Yes,
whole
I know
lot.
who he is,
Today's
okay,
your
Mom?
birthday. Happy birthday.
He's a part of the same team as Six Pack. A
I
guy
know,
who
I
drinks
was about him
alcohol.
last night.
Anyways, this
He's
is the
actually
bully man.
using
Banner
this-
cannot fight him since he has all the stuff
Let me get this
Saturday
straight.
volume was to murder.
Pretended to be the white Italian man's fiance. She's married. Come on. Hard to believe.
Hard to believe when you hard him.
Hard to believe.